PLO Propaganda. I understand that the Palestinian Liberation Organization's charter, published in July 1968, may be considered outdated, but its contents are embraced by millions of people today. Even some Christians, although disputing the details of the document, accept its premise that Jews have no right to statehood or land. The following is Article 20 from the PLO Charter. The Balfour Declaration, the Mandate document, and what has been based upon them are considered null and void. The claim of an historical and spiritual tie between Jews and Palestine does not tally with historical realities nor with the constituents of statehood in their true sense. Judaism, in its character as a religion of revelation, is not a nationality with an independent existence. Likewise, the Jews are not one people with an independent personality. They are rather citizens of the states in which they belong. The Balfour Declaration mentioned above is the 1917 British document that stated the necessity of a Jewish state. The mandate mentioned above is the 1922 League of Nations decision that mandated England to create a viable Jewish state in the Middle East from the spoils of World War I. Article 20 states that there is no historic or spiritual relevance to the argument that claims there is a link between Jews and Palestine. It states that Jewishness is a religious designation, not an ethnic designation, and therefore, doesn't constitute a reason for statehood. It also states that Jews aren't one ethnic people, but a mixture of ethnicities living in various countries where they should remain. In response to Article 20 I raised two questions. Is being Jewish a religious designation or it is an ethnic designation too? Do Jews have any historic or spiritual claim to Palestine? In answering these questions as a Christian I refer you to the book of Genesis, which is considered by Christians, Jews, Muslims, and others, to be a credible source of ancient history. Genesis 12, 1 and 2 NIV states the following. The Lord had said to Abraham, Go, from your family, your people, and your father's household to the land where I shall show you. I will make you into a great nation. This passage addresses three issues: ethnicity, land, and nationhood, the three issues addressed in Article 20 of the PLO Charter. Concerning ethnicity, Abram's departure from his ethnic people implies that God would create a new ethnic race through him. Concerning land, Abraham would be shown a parcel of land in present-day Palestine that God would later give to his descendants. Concerning nationhood, Abraham would become a great nation. So, before there was a religion known as Judaism, Abram's descendants, the Jews, were designated as a distinct ethnic race of people with both a national identity and land to dwell in. This is the historic record that those embracing the PLO Charter reject. The promises of oneness of ethnicity, land, and nationhood, as seen in Genesis 12, 1 and 2 are incorporated into what is known as the Abrahamic Covenant. These promises were directed to Abraham, to his descendants, and to a future Jewish Messiah. For further details you can read my article entitled The Abrahamic Covenant. As an aside, both logic and law dictate that you cannot remove any part of a covenant without nullifying the covenant. Therefore, if Jewish land and statehood rights are removed from the Abrahamic Covenant, as some Christians assert, the covenant is nullified and the promise of a Messiah no longer exists. The promise of Jews being of one spiritual ethnic people is confirmed in the following articles of the covenant. I will greatly increase your numbers, I will make you very fruitful, I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants to be your God and the God of your descendants. Genesis 17, 3-7. Your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. Genesis 17, 19. The promise of Jewish statehood is confirmed in the following articles of the covenant. I will make you into a great nation. Genesis 12, 2. Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation. Genesis 18, 17, 18. The promise of a Jewish homeland in Palestine is confirmed in the following articles of the covenant. The land of Canaan where you are now an alien, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants. Genesis 17, 3, 8. To your offspring I will give this land. Genesis 12, 7. Look north to south, and east to west. All the land you see will be given to you and your offspring forever. Genesis 13, 14, 15. On the day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham and said, To your descendants I will give this land. From the river of Egypt to the great river the Euphrates. Genesis 15, 18. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies. Genesis 22, 17. From the above articles of the Abrahamic Covenant we understand that Jewishness is both an ethnic and religious designation, and Jews are entitled to statehood in Palestine. The Mosaic Covenant, the foundation of Judaistic law that came into existence some 400 plus years after the Abrahamic Covenant, also confirms Israel's distinctiveness among the nations. Exodus 19, 6. Here is an historical fact that is often ignored. Despite the hundreds of thousands of Jews that were executed and exiled from Palestine by the Romans in 70 and 135 AD, and by the Muslims in the 7th century, there has always been a remnant of Jews in Palestine over the last 2,000 years. Then, when Jews immigrated to Palestine in increasing numbers in the late 1800s, they developed the land to such a degree that Arabs immigrated to Palestine to benefit from Jewish ingenuity. If not for the Jews, Palestine would still be a dry and thirsty land. I'm not Navi. I won't change the minds of millions of people who embrace this PLO propaganda. I'm not writing to them. I'm writing to Christians who may not know the historic and biblical facts, or who hold to a theology that rejects Israel's place in prophetic history. For me it's clear. God has designated the Jews to be a religiously based ethnic race of people, having the right of statehood in the land of Palestine. The eternal agreement known as the Abrahamic Covenant will be fully realized when its author returns to Palestine to implement every last article of the covenant.